Okay, welcome everybody back to Kira Yoga. So we'll just start on our backs, coming all the way down. Taking some nice deep breaths when we arrive. Just get it comfortable. Deep breaths in, slow exhales. We'll just start our practice as always with a bit of tuning into the breath to start. No formal exercise today, just noticing your natural breath. Maybe you like to put your hands on your belly, feel the rise and fall of the breath. Maybe closing down the eyes if that feels comfortable. Sighing out the mouth as many times as you like. Just spend another minute or so here. There's no rush. Seeing if we can soften and become heavy into the mat. Softening on the exhale. Breathing here. Just a few more breaths. And if at any time throughout the practice you want to count to follow, you can inhale 1, exhale 2, all the way up to 10, and starting again. Can be a helpful one to come back to the breath, have something to focus on. Right now, we're just going to bring our knees up towards our chest, into our cradle position. Just rocking side to side, massaging out the lower back. And then we'll slide our left leg down along the floor, coming out straight. Right knee is in towards the chest, maybe moving it side to side. Getting a bit of movement in the hip. Breathing here. Just slowing down. Nice and restful practice today, so no standing postures. We'll just do a bit of a kneeling sequence. Just trying to get our stress levels back down. And some nice psoas muscle stretches, so at the front of our hips and behind in our lower back. Just on the drive back from Denmark today, so I'm feeling a bit tight in those areas, but it's a great general stretch for any driving in the car or sitting at a desk. Those muscles will be the first ones to tighten. We spend a lot of our time sitting throughout the day. So just swapping legs, right leg stretched out, left knee coming in to the chest. Rocking the left knee side to side. Breathing as we go. And then we're just gonna bring that left knee over towards the right. So you can just hug it in towards your shoulder, or you can come all the way over onto the left knee over onto the ground and holding it there with the right hand, stretching out the left hand. Breathing here in our spinal twist, just going as far as feels good for you. Breathing here, softening down. That's focusing on slow, steady breaths. Just a couple more breaths on this side. And then inhaling back up, we'll come to the other side. So bringing the right knee up this time and bringing it over towards the shoulder, option 1, holding it there, or option 2, coming all the way over. So that knee comes down into the ground, or you can have it onto a prop as well, if that's a bit far. The right knee's coming over towards the left, right hand's coming out to stretch in that T shape if you've got the room. Looking over towards the right if it feels okay for the neck. You can close down your eyes if you like. Breathing here. Making sure you can get nice deep breaths, unrestricted. Making sure you're comfortable in each pose. Not overexerting yourself or stretching too far. Never want any pain in yoga. Just breathing here for a couple more breaths. And then exhaling, starting to unravel. Just come back onto our backs. We'll just come into some windscreen wiper motions. So bringing the knees over towards the left and then the right. Feet are about hip width apart. You can move the head side to side if you like. That can feel quite nice on the back of the scalp. Breathing as we go from one side to the next. And just coming back to center. So we're going to come into a supported bridge pose next, or you can do it without the support. So if you've got like a block or a book or something you can put under your hips and bolster, that's great. If not, you don't necessarily need it. So we're going to have our feet about hip width apart, our knees about hip width apart, pushing our hands into the mat back down by our sides. And then we're going to tuck our pelvis so the back of our back is flat on the mat. And then we're going to push the hips up towards the sky. So we're getting a line, flat line between, from the knees to the shoulders. You can tuck the shoulders under a little bit by shifting side to side, keeping the shoulders nice and high. If you've got that prop, you can tuck that underneath and then surrender onto it, or you can just stay upright in the bridge. So this is starting to get those psoas muscles. Should give a little bit of a release through the front. It's also a good one for strength through the glutes and the buttocks. Exhaling, coming back down, either onto the prop or onto the ground. Relaxing here. Breathing. Surrendering if you're on the prop. You can just stay there. Breathing if you're on the ground, and we'll go up for another round in a moment. Making sure the back feels okay. And then inhaling, tilting that pelvis, flat back, pushing the hips up. Inhaling here, breathing. Just a couple more breaths. And exhaling all the way back down. Coming to those windscreen wiper motions again, and just coming off that prop, pushing your hips up, getting the prop over to the side if you were using that in the bridge pose. So we're all flat on our backs now. Breathing as we go. We're just going to make our way up to seated position. So coming onto your side or rocking backwards and forwards. Coming all the way up. We're coming into our butterfly pose. So we're just bringing our legs out long. Maybe rolling the wrists and the ankles. And then if you like, you can have the rolled up towel under your hips just to help your pelvis tilt forward. Otherwise, inhaling and exhaling, walking the hands forward, dropping the neck down. Coming into our caterpillar pose. Breathing here. Surrendering down, softening down. Breathing here. Just got another 30 seconds or so. So if you'd like to come down a little further, or if it's feeling too much, just backing off, your choice. Do what feels good for you. This is your practice. Breathing wherever you are. And then next inhale, making our way back up. Coming into our butterfly pose next. So just bringing the soles of the feet in together. So remembering the closer the heels are to the body, the more sensation we'll get through the inner thighs. So just choosing where you want the feet, inhaling and then exhaling, just folding forward. Coming as far forward as feels good. Remembering to breathe. We have a little Pippi at the door. Hi. I'm doing butterfly pose. It's a bit needy since we've been away for a couple of days. Wants to be close. Breathing here in butterfly. Just another 30 seconds or so. Just taking our final breath in. And exhaling, making our way back up. So we're just going to come into a comfortable seated position. And come into some neck rolls. Bringing the chin to chest. And then left ear, left shoulder. Breathing on this side and then exhaling down. Right ear, right shoulder. And coming back down to the other side. So you can continue with the 180s, or if it feels okay for the neck, come all the way around 360 degrees. Just making sure it feels okay, going nice and slowly at first. Breathing as we go. And once you've gone one way, just going the other. And there she goes. Close the door again. So just going the other way with the neck rolls if you haven't done so already. And then coming back up to center. So we'll inhale the hands above the head and we're going to grab the opposite wrist and just pulling to the side. Getting a nice side stretch here. Inhaling up and coming to the other side, swapping hands. And one more on each side. Now coming to a side stretch, just exhaling the hands down. Right hand comes down towards the right hip. Inhaling the left hand up and over. Stay up on the hand or come down to the forearm. looking up towards the sky. Breathing here. Inhaling back up, coming to the other side, left hand down, right hand up, looking towards the ceiling. And inhaling back to the other side, one more time on each side. Breathing here. Inhaling to the final side. Exhaling, coming all the way up. Inhaling, the hands up above the head, looking up. Exhaling, twisting towards the right, left hand to right knee. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, twisting, looking behind us. Breathing here. Inhaling up, hands up. Exhaling to the left. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, twisting. Inhaling one more time on each side. Last side. Exhaling, coming back to center. So we're going to make our way up and over. Coming down into our child's pose, sitting back on the heels. Coming all the way down. We're going to move into our kneeling sun salutes next. So I'll guide you through that little flow in a moment. Just have another few breaths in our child's pose. Breathing here. And on our next inhale, coming back up through our hero pose, sitting on the heels, and then inhaling up to kneeling. Inhaling the hands up above the head, looking up. Exhaling the hands back down to the lower back. So fingertips can be facing up or they can be facing down. Knees are about hip width apart. And then we're going to just push the hips forward a little bit. So come as far as feels good. Coming into a back bend now, so it's fairly strong. Into the start of our camel pose. And if it feels better, you can tuck the toes underneath for stability as well. It's coming as far as feels good. If you like, you can look up towards the ceiling. And exhaling back down through tabletop. I'm going to come into our kneeling plank. So fingers are spread out in front of us, shoulders are coming over our hands, hips are coming down, and then lowering down onto our bellies. Inhaling our hands forward, sliding the hands forward, coming up into our cobra. Shoulders are coming back. You can look down towards the ground or up towards the ceiling. Breathing here in our mini back bend. And exhaling, pushing up with the hands through tabletop. And coming into our puppy pose. So sliding the hands forward and chest is coming down towards the ground. Hips are staying up. Forehead comes towards the mat. Breathing here. Shoulder stretch. Inhaling, coming up through our puppy, through our tabletop to our child's pose, coming back down. Breathing here. Counter pose in child's pose from all the back bends. Breathing here, softening down if you can. And on our next inhale, we'll come up to kneeling, inhaling the hands up, looking up. We're going to grab the opposite wrist this time, like we did in the other pose, and just draw our hand over so we're in our crescent moon or side stretch. Inhaling up, and then the other side. Exhaling our hands to our lower back for our camel, so pushing the hips forward as far as feels good. Inhaling and exhaling down through our tabletop into our plank pose, lowering down towards the mat, sliding our hands forward to cobra. Breathing here. Exhaling down, pushing the mat away. Coming through tabletop to our puppy pose, sliding the hands forward, chest comes down. Breathing here, inhaling and exhaling. Next inhale, making our way back up. Sitting back on the heels and coming down to child's pose. Awesome work. Breathing here. Keeping our breath as steady as we can. Another few breaths. And then inhaling, coming up from child's pose through our kneeling. Inhaling the hands up, grabbing that opposite wrist, coming into a side stretch. And then the other side, breathing as we go. Exhaling the hands down to our lower back. This is our last one. Pushing our hips forward. Exhaling down through our tabletop to our kneeling plank, lowering down. Sliding the hands forward to our cobra. If this has been feeling okay, you might want to push through the hands, coming to a stronger back bend, or just staying where you are. Coming up to our seal if you like. Exhaling down, pushing away through tabletop. Sliding the hands forward to our puppy. Exhaling down. Breathing here. Inhaling back up. Exhaling down to our child's pose. Awesome work. Breathing here. Inhaling, coming up, we're just going to move into a kneeling pose. So it's coming in the middle of your mat, so you've got room on each side. And then we're coming into our gate pose. So just lowering down, placing the left hand on the mat, stretching out the right foot, pushing all four corners of the right foot onto the mat. And then we're going to put our hand on our right hip, push the hip forward, keeping our hand there, or bringing the right hand up and over. And you can look back towards that hand if that feels okay for the back and neck. Breathing here. Nice squeaky floorboard beneath me. Exhaling down and just swapping legs. So walking hands over towards the right, left leg comes out this time. Pushing the hips forward and bringing that left hand up if you like. Breathing here. Exhaling back down. We're going to make our way into our yogi squat next. So you might want to come to that through your tabletop. So I'm tucking my toes underneath And then I'm going to walk my feet forward and wide. And then I'm just going to sit down, come into my squat position. So your feet might be wider or closer together. Your heels might be off the ground. You might be more on the balls of your feet. Either way, doesn't matter. Maybe shifting side to side. And then bringing your elbows, pushing the knees away with the elbows. Hands come together at heart center. Breathing here. Exhaling back down, bringing the hands onto the ground. We're going to come into Skandasana now. So I'm not sure if we've done this one together before. We're going to shift our weight onto our left foot and we're going to stretch our right leg out long over to the right. So right leg comes out straight, toes are coming up. I've come onto the ball of my left foot now. And then if you want to try balance, you can bring the hands up. See if we can balance. You can also shift around to see if your foot becomes flatter. If you make the legs wider or sit back on how do I explain that? Sit back onto the heel a little more. You can keep the hands in front of you. So we're getting quite a strong stretch through the inner thigh on my right side. Quite a tricky one with balancing. Breathing here in Skandasana. If you're really good at balancing, your hands can come to heart center. Inhaling and exhaling here. So we're just going to push ourselves to do Skandasana on our other foot. So you can come onto both feet, hips come up, and then we just walk our way to our other side, sitting down onto that right leg. So it's kind of like a half yogi squat. I think it's called a side squat, side lunge. One side's probably tighter than the other as well, so this side feels a bit better for me. I've got my foot on the ground so I can sit back a little more. Just playing around with that one, seeing how the balance goes. Maybe try and lift your hands off the floor. And then exhaling back. Going to come all the way up to like a standing forward fold, so feet can come together at the top of the mat and just folding over as far as feels good. Feet are about hip width apart, dropping the neck down. Stretching out the lower back, rocking the hips side to side. Breathing here. Planting the left hand down, inhaling the right hand up. And exhaling the right hand down, inhaling left hand up. And just coming back to our tabletop. And we're just going to sit down into our twisted deer. So coming to a seated position and our feet come into that, legs come into that bended pose. So we're sort of making two like L shapes. And the soles of my feet are pointing to the right. And then I'm going to twist around to my left. So doing a bit of spinal twist here, and you can come down onto the forearms if you like. So the sole of my left foot is pushing into the top of my right thigh. Breathing here, dropping the neck down. And on our next inhale, just pushing the hands up, untwisting, coming back to center, and we'll just swap the legs over. So soles of my feet are pointing to the left this time. Right sole of the foot is pushing into the top of my left thigh. And then I'm going to twist around to the right and come down onto my forearms, breathing here. Get the beautiful sound of rain and outside. And our next inhale, pushing up with the hands and coming all the way back. Just coming back to that comfortable seated position, easy cross-legged. And we'll inhale the hands up, looking up. Exhaling, twisting around to the right. Inhaling up, hands up. Exhaling, twisting to the left. And one more time on each side, twisting to the right. And hands up, looking up, and twisting to the left. Winding down now. And inhaling the hands up, just grabbing the opposite wrists, bending over towards the side. Inhaling up, swapping hands over to the left. One more time on each side. And exhaling down. And making our way onto our back. Just bringing the knees into the chest, just rocking back and side to side. You might want to stretch the feet out towards the ceiling, rolling the ankles, stretching the backs of the legs, pointing and flexing the toes. Bring yourself back to cradle, giving yourself a squeeze. And exhaling the feet down. Come into our figure 4 pose. So soles of the feet are on the floor, and then we're going to bring our right ankle on top of our left knee, pushing the right knee away. We can stay here, or we can clasp behind the back of the knee with both of our hands. If that's feeling good, stay here, or if you want a little more, clasping at the front of that left knee. Breathing here. Slowing down now, just checking in with our breath. Maybe closing down the eyes. Going to be on this side for another minute or so. Just making sure you're comfortable. Making sure your breathing isn't restricted at all. Inhaling and exhaling back down. Just come into some windscreen wiper motions. Maybe bringing the feet back up, stretching out the backs of the legs. And then swapping legs. So left ankle on top of right knee this time, staying here, or coming to option 2, back of the knee, or option 3, front of the knee clasp. Making sure that left knee is pushing away from the body so we're getting a stretch in that left hip. Breathing here, settling down another minute or so. And exhaling back down. And some windscreen wiper motions. We're just going to come into that supported bridge or just the bridge pose. So setting up our feet and our knees hip width apart, pushing our hands into the mat, and then tilting the pelvis flat back and then pushing the hips up. Tucking the shoulders underneath if you like. Breathing here. Seeing how high we can get our hips. And exhaling back down. If you're using the prop, just staying on the prop. And on the next inhale, pushing the hips up. Breathing here. Exhaling back down. Awesome work. We're just going to come into our happy baby. So bringing the knees into the chest and then out wide towards the armpits, grabbing at the outsides of the feet. Soles of the feet are parallel with the ceiling. Making sure our head, neck and shoulders are supported by the mat. And if that's a little bit of a stretch, just grabbing at the ankles or the shins or wrapping the hands around the backs of the knees. Settling into our happy baby. You can rock side to side if you like, or just staying still. And we're feeling the stretch on the lower back. Breathing here. Maybe closing down the eyes if it feels okay. And staying here for another 30 seconds or so. Just noticing if you're feeling anything softening or becoming heavier. And then exhaling the feet back down. Bring the arms up over the head, coming into that windscreen wiper motion again. And then if you had found a prop for your bridge pose, you can use this for your waterfall pose, or you can just use a wall if you have one nearby. So if you've got that prop, bring that underneath the hips, and we're just doing that one where we put our legs up towards the ceiling. So if you tilt it right, it'll bring the feet back towards the head, and it'll be more of a passive pose, so the feet will just stay upright pretty much on their own if you've got the prop. If you prefer the wall, just edging yourself up as close as you can, and then just shuffling around and bringing the feet up the wall. Settling down, Viparita Karani, legs up the wall pose. Or our waterfall pose with the prop. I'll be here for a couple of minutes, so making sure you're comfortable and warm. Have your hands on your belly to notice the breath, or hands down by the side. Maybe closing down the eyes if it feels okay. Our last pose before rest. Breathing here. Nice deep inhales. Slow exhales. Softening down on the exhale. Feeling the breath rise and fall in the belly, in the chest. You might notice as we go through the pose, start to become heavier, sinking down into the mat. And we'll just make our way to rest when we're ready. So just coming to the side if you're on the wall, gently moving yourself off the prop if you're in waterfall, and just making our way onto our backs. You might like something underneath the knees or something underneath the head. Settling down into rest. We've got a few minutes here. Nothing else to do. Breathing here. Just noticing the breath and the bodily sensations. Slowly starting to deepen the breath. Gently starting to get some movement in the fingers and the toes. Starting to roll the wrists and the ankles. Moving the hands up above the head into a full body stretch. And when you're ready, just rolling onto your preferred side, staying there for a couple of breaths. Just thinking of something that we're grateful for today. Think of one thing or multiple things. It's a bit of a struggle you can think about having clean drinking water, food in the fridge, bed to sleep in tonight. And when you're ready, just making your way up to a comfortable seated position, thanking yourself for making the time to practice today. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you again next time.